Hey guys, John here and welcome to the funnel troubleshooting video. Once you've ran your initial phase 1 test, either the low budget or the high budget method, you may have found that your results weren't quite what you were expecting. Now don't be discouraged, just because something doesn't work right away doesn't mean it's a failure. In fact, it may take several adjustments in one or more parts of the funnel before you can start to see positive results. The key to success here is identifying the problem and applying the correct solution to the problem area. Luckily, making adjustments usually isn't all that difficult. We've found that most stores' performance issues can be attributed to one of the following aspects of your funnel: your product page, your ad creative, or your audience targeting. Although that might seem pretty simple, you'd be surprised how often making a change in one of these areas completely turns around the performance of a store. That being said, you still need to figure out which one of these areas needs adjustments and how you should go about making those changes. And that's exactly what I'll be showing you here. In this video, I'll go over the exact troubleshooting approach we take when things aren't working out. I'll be covering all three pieces of the funnel and providing you with ways to determine whether or not each component could be an issue. I'll also provide you with some potential problems and fixes for each part of the funnel and how you should go about implementing them. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, so funnel section number 1, the product page. Now, one of the most common problem areas for dropshipping stores is going to be the product page. Even if your ad is attractive and brings in prospects to your store, there's no guarantee that they're going to buy your product if your landing page is a disaster or if it's missing some key pieces of information about your product. So when might this be an issue? To find out if your product page may be an issue, I recommend looking at the percentage of site visitors that added to cart. I generally recommend having at least 5% of your site visitors adding to cart. This metric is based on the industry standards with the idea that 1 in 5 people who add to cart will purchase, giving you a 1% conversion rate with a moderately priced product. With a 1 to 1.5% conversion rate, assuming 200 to 300% profit margins, you should be somewhere around break even, which is a solid position to be in phase 1. Now, to calculate your ratio, all you have to do is go to your Facebook Ads Manager and divide the total number of add to carts by the total number of page views. If you want a quicker way to find your ratio with real-time updates, then check out our app Funnelshoot, where you'll be able to see your exact funnel drop-off rates in real time. Alright, so now that you know whether or not there might be an issue on your product page, let's go over a few potential adjustments you can make. Okay, so potential fix number 1, adjust the product pricing. The first thing you should consider is whether or not your product price is within the realm of your customers' expectations. Now, this really shouldn't be an issue if you followed our recommended product research guidelines that were presented in Module 2. And so, if you didn't take a look at your competitors' pricing, I recommend doing so now. And if you find that your pricing is significantly higher than theirs, it may be worth lowering your price to theirs and seeing if that helps resolve the issue. Alternatively, let's say you've opted for a product that other dropshippers haven't sold yet. In this case, you could try lowering the price 2 to 10% depending on your price and margins. The acceptable margins will depend on the cost of your product. If yours is priced at $30 or less, you'll want to maintain at least a 300% markup. Products priced at $30 to $60 should have between a 250 and 300% markup, leading towards the upper end of that range. And for anything priced higher than that, you'll want at least a 200 to 250% markup. If you suspect that product pricing could be to blame here, but are already at the lower end of these margin ranges, I recommend moving on to a different product, as the product you're currently trying to sell might require more marketing experience, and there are other easier products out there that you could sell with less experience. Alright, so moving on to potential fix number 2, cleaning up images. Second, you can double check your images and see if they may need a bit of cleaning up. If you follow the guidelines I presented in Module 3, you should have a good idea of what types of images you should be using and what constitutes as clean. If you skipped over this part or cut a few corners, no worries, just go back and watch the videos there and make any adjustments if necessary. Alright, so moving on to potential fix number 3, adjust the copy. In addition to the product page images, you will want to verify that your copy is looking good. If you follow the guidelines in Module 3, this shouldn't really be an issue. However, if you haven't checked your competitor's copy, I recommend you do so now. You might find some pretty great ways to improve your own copy based on ideas you gather from your competition. Just make sure that you don't actually copy their page content, because they could potentially file a DMCA complaint on Shopify and effectively shut down your Shopify store. Alright, so moving on to potential fix number 4, the reviews. And so last but not least, you'll want to verify that your reviews are looking good. Social proof is a very important element in building trust with your audience, so it's important that you take the time to set things up nicely. Make sure that you're including legitimate reviews, including images of the product, as well as high quality testimonials. I like to prioritize testimonials that have emotional elements in them with reference to specific issues or pain points the customer had that the product addresses. If you only have a handful of reviews, make the effort to import some more and see if that helps. Now, after taking a look at these things, be sure to adjust your product page as needed, run through phase 1 again, and see if things improve. Hopefully, the second time around, your page view to add to cart ratio should be above 5%. Alright, so if you fixed your landing page and you're getting a solid 5% or above in terms of page view to add to cart ratio, but you still aren't profitable, then let's move on to diagnosing your actual ad creative. So moving on to final section number 2, the ad creative. If your ad creative isn't resonating with your target audience, it's going to be difficult for you to get people to your actual store, which will in turn cause poor performance. To determine if your ad creative is a potential problem, I recommend taking a look at your CPC or your cost per click. Your cost per click will vary based on things like your target interest, country, placements, conversion objective, and more. In general though, we recommend that your cost per click stays within a range based on your location targeting. If you're targeting USA/Canada, you'll want something in between 50 cents to $1. If you're targeting ePacket, you'll want something between 30 cents to 70 cents. And if you're targeting worldwide, you'll want something in between 20 cents to 50 cents. Now these are just guidelines for reference. Sometimes when you're targeting USA, you might be still profitable at $1, maybe even like $1.50 per click. But in most scenarios, I've found that advertisements that fall within this range seem to have the highest chances of success. Now, if you find that your CPCs are outside the provided ranges, it is likely that your creative is to blame. So let's go over a couple different things you could do to help increase performance. Alright, so the potential fixes. The first thing I would recommend doing is going back to the ad creative lesson and making sure that you've included all the relevant clips and information as we discussed. Oftentimes, when one of our ad creatives underperforms, we find that it was due to a lack of depth in some aspect of the video. Perhaps a clip was not fully demonstrating the functionality of the product, or there was a lack of clarity as to what problems your product addresses. If you find this to be the case, be sure to go back to the original video and make the modifications as necessary. In addition to making sure your video has all the necessary elements, you may want to try an alternative marketing angle. Sometimes one angle might not resonate as well with the audience you're targeting. If you are selling a posture brace, maybe instead of making a general video about how the posture brace improves your posture and reduces back pain, you might consider creating one about how the posture brace improves work performance because of increased blood flow to the brain, or something like that. It's difficult to say exactly what the best marketing angle for a product might be. However, don't be afraid to try out something a little bit different. You might be pleasantly surprised by the results. And that's really about it for troubleshooting the ad creative. If you find that you want to introduce new ads or make changes to existing ads, be sure to go back to phase 1 and test them out again using the same campaign structure as before. And last but not least, we have funnel section number 3. Now I'd recommend to move on to troubleshooting your location settings if you're getting CPCs in the target range we recommended but still aren't hitting profitability. So funnel section number 3, location settings. Now assuming that your audiences are broad, your creative has very good CPCs, and your page view to add to cart ratio is also high, then one last thing to look at is your Facebook geo-targeting. Although you might be getting good CPCs and page views to add to cart percentages, not all traffic is the same. Sometimes, depending on the way Facebook optimizes and groups its users for a particular interest and country, worldwide targeting or ePacket may not be the best source of traffic for a particular product or niche. A lot of times when you run worldwide, you will get very cheap cost per clicks, lots of add to carts, but a very low conversion rate, leading to low performance. Ultimately, this is because the machine learning algorithm may not have found an optimal audience across a number of different countries based on your ad account history. So if you start off with ePacket or worldwide and suspect that your location settings may be to blame, I recommend targeting USA/Canada instead. Generally speaking, USA/Canada have higher quality audiences for most interests and niches. As usual, if you decide to test this change, you'll want to launch a new campaign with the same exact settings as before, except for the location. Now, upon making the switch to the USA/Canada, you'll likely see that your cost per click is going to rise, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing though. As long as your cost per clicks lie in the ranges we talked about earlier, you should be good to go. But if you change your location to USA/Canada and you find that your cost per click is outside the normal range, this most likely indicates an issue with your actual ad creative, and as such, if you haven't done so already, you'll want to go to funnel section number 2 and follow the instructions on troubleshooting your advertisement creative. Alright guys, so that's about it for the various pieces of funnel troubleshooting. At this point, you should have a solid understanding of the various aspects of the funnel and how to troubleshoot them if things aren't going your way. More often than not, making a few simple changes can completely turn around the performance of a store and start bringing in results. However, if despite all of the troubleshooting steps, you still have not seen a single sale or are extremely unprofitable, it may be time for you to move on. At this point, I would recommend that you stop your ads and post in our private Facebook group asking for some help. Anyways, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys in the next video.